Michael Jones straightened his tie as he stepped into the cool lobby of Crestwood Bank in Denver, Colorado. The morning had been chilly but productive, and this stop was supposed to be his last task before heading back to his office. His leather briefcase hung at his side as he walked up to the sleek counter. Behind the glass stood a young woman named Lisa, her hair neatly pinned back. "Good morning," Michael said warmly, his tone polite and relaxed. He slid a clean check and a small stack of cash through the window. "I'd like to make a deposit." Lisa took a quick look at the check, then glanced back at Michael. Her eyes lingered just a second too long, narrowing slightly. "This line is for business clients only," she said, motioning to another line where several people were already waiting. "I'm exactly where I need to be," Michael replied with a steady smile. "This is a business account deposit." Her lips tightened into a flat line. "I'll need to see some ID," she said, her voice clipped. Michael paused, not because he had a problem with showing ID, but because of the way she said it. There was a sharpness in her tone, almost like he'd done something wrong. Reached into his pocket, pulled out his wallet, and handed over his driver's license. Lisa examined it carefully, flipping it over as if she were trying to spot something fake. Her expression shifted from neutral to skeptical. "This your ID?" she asked, still turning it over in her hands. Michael raised an eyebrow. "Yes." "Why?" She didn't answer. Instead, she set the license aside and picked up the check again, now holding it like it was a suspicious item. "And where did you get this?" she asked, like she was part of some investigation. Michael's friendly demeanor started to wear thin. "I wrote it," he said, clearly and firmly. "It's from my company, Apex Capital." Lisa gave a little scoff. "And what's your position there?" "I'm the CEO," Michael replied, keeping his voice level even though his patience was fading. Lisa gave a faint, knowing smirk. It was subtle, but it was there. Then she leaned over and pressed a button on the intercom. "Security," she said. "I might need some assistance." You'd think she was reporting a disturbance, not helping a customer. "Is there a problem?" Michael asked, his tone still controlled but now edged with firmness. Lisa crossed her arms and gave him a cool look. "I'm just doing my job," she said. "This check doesn't look right. And honestly, your story doesn't add up. Do you have another form of ID? Maybe a passport?" Michael blinked at her, clearly taken aback. "Who brings a passport to the bank?" he asked. She smirked. "I do. When I travel," she said, clearly pleased with herself. Her finger hovered near the intercom button again, and her smug expression only grew. Just then, a tall security guard stepped out from a side door. His stance was rigid, and his eyes scanned the room carefully. The atmosphere in the bank shifted. It suddenly felt heavy. Michael could sense that people around them were starting to watch. "Is there a problem, Lisa?" the guard asked, his voice calm but firm. "Yes," Lisa answered, nodding toward Michael. "I think this might be fraud. He gave me a check and an ID, but they don't seem to match. And his explanation doesn't make much sense." Michael turned to face the guard. He stayed composed. "There's no fraud," he said clearly. "I'm here to deposit a check from my company's account. Everything I've given her is valid." The guard looked back and forth between Lisa and Michael. He shifted slightly, clearly unsure of how to handle the situation. "Do you want me to call the police?" he asked. Lisa waved her hand like it wasn't that serious. "Not yet," she said. "Let's verify the check first. It's from a company called Apex Capital. Apparently, he's the CEO." Michael took a breath, steadying himself against the rising tension. Her words were cutting, but he kept his voice calm. "You could clear this up right now by calling the number on the check," he said. "They'll confirm everything." Lisa paid no attention to Michael as she pulled over a second monitor to type in the check details. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, but every now and then, she would glance at him. "Do you have any other form of ID? A business card? Anything that proves who you are?" she asked, her voice almost dismissive. Michael opened his briefcase and handed her a business card, neatly printed with the Apex Capital logo and his name. Lisa barely gave it a glance before setting it aside, as though it were insignificant. "You know," Lisa said, her tone becoming sharper, "we have policies to protect us from scammers. You'd be amazed how often we catch people trying to cash fake checks. You should have planned this better." Michael's jaw tightened, but he stood his ground. "Is this how you treat all your customers, or just the ones who look like me?" His voice was steady but cutting. Lisa hesitated for a moment, her expression softening briefly before turning cold again. "I'm just doing my job," she replied defensively. "You're the one acting suspicious." The security guard, who had been standing nearby, cleared his throat. "Why don't we let her verify the check and sort this out?" he suggested calmly. Michael nodded and stepped back. "Fine. Go ahead. Verify it." Lisa quickly returned her focus to the keyboard, then picked up the phone to make the call. As it rang, Michael crossed his arms, watching her closely, his calm appearance hiding the frustration building inside. Lisa held the phone to her ear and spoke crisply, her tone businesslike. "Yes, this is Lisa from Crestwood Bank. I'm calling to verify a check for $20,000, issued by Apex Capital. Can I speak to someone in charge?" Michael stood silently, his face giving away nothing. The security guard shifted uncomfortably, and the room seemed to grow quieter. Nearby customers tried to look like they weren't listening, but a few of them leaned in just enough to catch the conversation. Long pause followed, and Lisa's expression flickered ever so slightly. "Yes, I'll hold," she said, tapping her nails impatiently on the desk. When the line finally picked up again, Lisa's eyes widened a little in surprise. "Oh, Mr. Jones," she said. "Yes, I have someone here trying to cash a check in your name, and I need to confirm its authenticity." Michael raised an eyebrow, tilting his head slightly as he waited for the next steps. As Michael stood waiting for the situation to unfold, Lisa's expression changed quickly. Her smugness disappeared, replaced by confusion and then shock. Her face turned red and she stammered, Yes, of course. I didn't realize. I'll thank you." With a shaky hand, she set the phone down and quickly glanced at Michael, though she couldn't quite meet his gaze. It's all verified," she mumbled, her voice barely audible. Just then, the bank manager, Greg, a calm and composed man, stepped out of his office, likely alerted by the noise. He looked between Lisa, the security guard, and Michael. "What's going on here?" he asked, his tone firm but controlled. Lisa straightened up, trying to regain some authority. "I was just verifying a suspicious transaction," she said quickly, "but it's all sorted now." Michael took a step forward, his voice steady but firm. "What she means," he began, "is that she falsely accused me of fraud, questioned my identity without reason, and treated me like a criminal based on her assumptions." Greg's brow furrowed as he turned to Lisa. "Is this true?" Lisa faltered. I was just following protocol," she stammered. "It's not my fault he seemed." Greg held up his hand, cutting her off. "I'll handle this, Mr. Jones. I apologize for any inconvenience. Is there anything I can do to make it right?" Michael's gaze remained unwavering. "I think you should take a closer look at how your employees treat people," he said, his voice calm but direct. "Because this isn't just inconvenient. It's unacceptable." Greg turned back to Lisa, his expression now serious. "Lisa, you didn't just make a mistake. You treated one of our most important clients with disrespect and prejudice." "Client?" Lisa echoed, her voice trembling. Greg nodded, pointing toward Michael. "This is Michael Jones, the CEO of Apex Capital. They're one of our largest business partners, and this bank handles millions of their transactions every year. You just accused the owner of a fraudulent check from his own company." The color drained from Lisa's face as the full weight of her actions hit her. "I didn't know," she stammered. "I was just doing my job." Michael didn't hesitate. His voice was calm but firm as he cut her off. "No, you weren't doing your job. You were making assumptions based on what you saw, not on what was right in front of you. I gave you everything you asked for, every piece of proof, and it still wasn't enough. Because you'd already decided I didn't belong here." Lisa opened her mouth to respond, but the words didn't come. Greg let out a sharp breath and turned to Michael. "Mr. Jones, on behalf of Crestwood Bank, I apologize deeply. This isn't the kind of behavior we stand for. It doesn't reflect our values or how we treat our customers." Michael looked at him for a moment before nodding. "Your apology is noted, but it's your actions that matter now. What will you do to make sure this doesn't happen again?" Greg glanced over at Lisa. "Effective immediately, Lisa, you're terminated." Lisa's eyes went wide. Panic flashed across her face. "Wait, fired? You can't do that," she exclaimed. "I can, and I just did," Greg said, his voice firm. "Clear out your desk by the end of the day." Lisa looked at Michael, her lips trembling, hoping for some kind of mercy, but Michael's expression remained steady. He offered no sympathy. The security guard stepped forward, speaking in a low voice. "I'll make sure she collects her things without any issues." As Lisa shuffled away, Michael turned back to Greg. "I appreciate your quick action," he said, keeping his tone calm. "But there's a bigger issue to address here. This isn't just about one employee. It's about a culture that allows something like this to happen." Greg nodded, his face serious. "You're right," he said. "We'll review our training programs and policies right away. You have my word." As Lisa disappeared from sight, Greg gestured toward the private office. "Mr. Jones, please let me personally assist you with your deposit." Michael glanced around the bank, noticing the uneasy stares from the other customers. He knew their curiosity wasn't born out of malice, but the air still felt heavy with what had just happened. He nodded at Greg and followed him, briefcase in hand. Once inside the office, Greg processed the transaction quickly and accurately, offering reassurances that this kind of situation would never happen again. When the deposit was complete, Greg leaned forward slightly, his tone sincere. "Mr. Jones, I can't apologize enough for what happened today. It was completely unacceptable." Michael met his gaze calmly. "Apologies are important, Greg," he said. "But those things aren't the solution," Michael said, his tone steady. "What really matters is making sure this doesn't happen to someone else, someone who doesn't have the resources or position to stand up for themselves." Greg nodded, his expression serious. "We'll take action," he promised. "That's a guarantee." Michael stood up, placing his receipt into his briefcase. He paused at the door, then turned back. "And one more thing," he said. "Educate your team. A lesson on respect and equality can go a lot further than just firing someone." Greg stood straighter, his face resolute. "Understood," he replied. As Michael stepped back into the main lobby, he noticed the change in the atmosphere. It was quieter now, almost thoughtful. The customers who had witnessed the incident were still there, their curiosity now mixed with something else, maybe respect, maybe shame. "Don't judge someone by how they look," Michael said, his voice clear enough for everyone to hear. "You might just be looking at the very person who could change your life." He gave a small, polite nod to the onlookers and walked out of the bank. Outside, the sunlight hit him like an old friend, welcoming him. He paused for a moment, taking in the fresh air. The frustration he'd felt earlier had turned into something more productive, a new drive to keep pushing boundaries, not just for himself, but for everyone who'd ever been doubted or overlooked. Back inside, Greg called a staff meeting. Lisa's empty chair at the front desk would remain a quiet reminder of the change that needed to happen, not just at Crestwood Bank, but in every corner of society where assumptions still outweigh understanding.